Mikhail from JetBrains, and I'm one of the developers of the Scala plugin for IntelliJ. Please raise your hands who developed this. Oh, yeah, that was actually... That was the question. So, once again, for the camera who did not hear what I said, my name is Mikhail. I'm from JetBrains, and I develop Scala plugin. I'm a part of the team.
What does it come from?
What? That's a country primarily located in St. Petersburg. So, please, raise your hands or make noted if you actually develop Scala applications. So there are almost no people who are sort of unfamiliar with technology and are willing, to get introduced into the great Scala world. All right. So even if such persons are here listening to me, I think they would still find relatively useful info that will, probably allow them to dive into Scala easier and faster. So, since we are at a functional conference, languages like Java are probably discouraged here. Although I would say that many of you wanted to not develop enterprise applications or whatever in languages that you do not consider easy to use or non-functional. But in Java world, using an IDE is essential because Java is a relatively straightforward language, and building an IDE is quite simple. Unlike for functional languages like Haskell. Why am I suddenly so loud? Okay. Anyway, I'm here actually to drag you people to the dark side of using IDEs and other integrated tools. So to start with, for example, you have a idea of building your killer feature, startup or library of homological functors, whatever, cats extension, and so on. What do you do first? You probably set up a project. That's pretty straightforward. And in Scala world, almost everyone here comes from Scala world. Not as the conference, though I don't see John here. That's a shame. We would start by creating a project by using Sbt. Sbt is a standard build tool for Scala, and to do that, I'll just close everything. We recently, oh my goodness. Do not close all projects while in presentation mode. Okay, I'll start with creating a project. That's pretty straightforward. We've recently refactored the interface for creating projects and new applications. And now, unlike in previous versions, you do not have confusing menu items. You just go new project Scala Sbt. And that's it. It's going to be pretty easy because the only thing you have to specify is the Scala version and Sbt versions. F by 1. All right. So I'll leave the presentation mode first. So now we have an Sbt file. What do we do now? Perhaps you would like to add some libraries to it. That's going to be pretty straightforward, like you would do in a normal text editor, although IDE is a little bit smarter, so it allows you to do completions, to code faster. So in this case, I'm gonna probably add some shapeless. I'm gonna start using the templates. What you've just seen is me typing in the dep keyword and then pressing tab. Does everyone see the green highlights in the bottom? I'll repeat it once again. So there are a few templates. They're called live templates, which you can define yourself. These are basically textual shortcuts, which you can, in a macro way, expand and collapse. In this case, I'm showing the dependency template, which is a standard for dep. And invoking it includes just pressing the tab key. And so pretty easy. What you see now is the completion for the libraries that are already installed on your system. Since SBT uses IV, and IV is a caching dependency management system, you will have some libraries already installed in your cache. And they will pop up right here after expanding the template. So you will be able to like select them without looking for them manually. In this case, I'm going to attach shapeless. Oh, shapeless is spelled differently. Shapeless to 11. All right, and seems like the only version installed is the 2.3.2. Okay, that was like the first cool feature that everyone should be, aware of. That's relatively easy to use. Okay. So, but for example, let's try a different case. I will not refresh the project, so the library does not get imported actually to and attached to the project. Say we have a different scenario, is that you created a project from scratch, but you do not know what to import. And some guy just suggested you copy-paste the code from the internet, and that would be to start the Miles repo, and say he just sent me this code in Telegram or emailed it, or I copy-pasted it, and I just paste it into the project right in the source directory. Obviously, none of the imports resolve, everything is red, and you're going to start complaining about the IDE, nothing works. The thing you would do is just simply invoking a quick fix. Oops. It seems like it got pasted as Java code. Why? Okay, that was not planned. I'm going to just go and create it from scratch. By the way, the real pros do not use keyboard, do not use mouse. They use actions, which are basically shortcuts, like you would, see in more modern text editors. You just press something on your keyboard, and the window pops up, and you can search for anything that you can do with your editor. And in our case, the shortcut is Control-Shift-A, which will invoke the Find Actions tool window. This is it. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to type in new class. There we go. Book. All right, now I created a Scala file. So now I can copy-paste Mars's example. And hopefully this time it's going to be in Scala. All right, fine. Oh my god, I actually have shapeless. This is pretty embarrassing. Do not import shapeless automatically, please. So, let's come back to our awesome Mars's example. Let's wait for SBT to finish building. Yeah, okay, now it does not resolve. It still does.
Probably because of the package.
Oh my god, yeah. I accidentally copy-pasted the package as well. All right, fine. Thank you. Now we have a file which does not resolve the imports. Everything is read, but what we can do, we can invoke the quick fix on the read import and call the Sbt Dependency Quick Fix. This is relatively useful when you do this copy-pasting from the internet and you are not willing to search the same internet for the exact library that is used in the project. So you can just call this quick fix, and we'll prompt you with the selection of the libraries that it suggests you to include in your project. Currently, I only have one shapeless installed, unfortunately. Right after that, after you selected the exact library you want, just proceed to selecting the place in the SBT file where you want the dependency to be inserted. That's also pretty straightforward, but that's thanks to the relatively simple project I have here. Okay, now it started refreshing the SBT and pulling the dependency into the project. Yay! All right, that's looking better. So let's see if it type checks. Yeah, it does. So what I did right now was pressing the Alt equals on Windows and Mac, on Linux and Mac. For other operating systems, you can see the pop-up menu. It shows you the type info. I think most of you are pretty familiar with this feature. It's quite useful. All right, the thing you should have probably noticed that Shapeless now works better than it used to. And now we can actually type check the macros that Shapeless provides. This currently is a label generic, which allows you to create interop between case classes and hash lists. So, great, wonderful. What can we do next? I actually wanted to show you the more complicated version of the project with much more dependencies and much more complicated structure. Oh, where is it? Presentation mode off. Oh, it's still. All right, let's take, for example, our own project, the Scala plugin codebase, which is fairly more complicated than the example one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to import Shapeless, which will not import because it's not attached. We're not using Shapeless in our project. Shame for us. As you see, it even slows down and shows actual progress dialog. And in this case, we have much more places to add the import. And it even shows you the sub-projects that are going to be added to. All right, so this was a quick demo on a more complicated project. All right, so let's show you something else. For example, one of the most important purposes of an IDE is to make things faster. You will not make things faster when you use your mouse, as many people mention it. The key to effectively using an IDE is the various shortcuts it provides. But it's quite difficult to learn all the shortcuts. So we have to invent something else to allow you to simultaneously be more productive without having to learn the multitudes of some various keystrokes. So we actually have to minimize the number of keystrokes to access all the various actions. In our case, we separate them into two main groups: the actions and everything else. If you want to search for an action, let's say compiling, creating new classes, I've already demonstrated, creating new projects and so on, or running inspections by name, you invoke search by action, which is Control-Shift-A. It allows you to search for any functionality that IDE provides, including toggling settings. As in there, I already showed you how to toggle the presentation mode. There we go. I can even, I don't know, set the wrapping of the current file. Soft wrap all files. Okay. That's not going to be really effective since, the style is awesome. So this is pretty important. In case you forgot something, you forgot a feature, you just open up the searching for an action and start typing whatever comes to your mind. Another important thing is searching for symbols or code occurrences for classes, methods, and so on. If you have absolutely no idea what are you looking for, you just double shift and it searches everywhere. Like, for example, I have a book. Oh, that's already here. I have a label generic. There it is. Fairly easy. Okay, so these are the two main parts of the interface that you will have to know. You can also specify the scopes by searching for class, for example. Control N searches for class, Control Shift N searches for file, and so on. So the most important part is search. But another important part of an IDE is the feedback that it gives you. In our case, the feedback is implemented via various inspections and coding assistance tools. Some people say that using an IDE for learning Scala code is not good because it helps you too much. But in our case, it's actually people would benefit from it because it teaches you how to not write the code. For example, I'm going to write. Can anyone come up with an example of using collections wrong way? Calling ahead. Why is calling ahead a bad style? Like, for example, you meant something like this. Oh, sorry. Applying. No. Well, let's create a collection, for example. That's going to be a collection of ints. Fairly simple. We're going to access the last element of it using the index. A last. Oh no, size. Sorry. No, it's not working. Okay, let's think of something more simple. For example, we're going to do a filter by some predicate. Oh. Filter is not working. Okay, find true, get or else false. Yep. That's gonna, something is not going as I expected. All right, anyway, you can search for those things that we are calling inspections right in the settings of the project. They're actually listed here. Inspections. Yeah, in for Scala we have lots of them. For example, only the collection category includes like comparing. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. You do not want to use length if you do not know what you're doing. or calling, for example, equals on arrays, which will also lead to bugs. The thing is, it will not just let you know that you're doing something wrong. It will also let you automatically fix the code. For example, in this case, it's going to automatically convert it to same elements. The most important thing is that you can call this inspection on all files, or all, for example, on your selected scope. As I mentioned before, you can also call the inspection by name. You would use just the same Control-Shift-A dialog and search for something that includes inspection and name. There we go. Array comparing using, that is from Java. There we go. So we're just gonna use the whole project and run the collection, which will allow you to, like, firstly inspect the errors that you get, and out of the same interface, fix all the things you want. See, that's also pretty useful. So another important part that will speed up your coding would be postfix templates. If someone didn't know what they mean, that's a really useful feature. For example, I have an expression and I want to convert it to an option. What I would do, I would just type a dot after the expression and call option. Yep. It will automatically rewrite the whole expression and wrap it into something else. In this case, it's going to wrap it into an option. But it's fairly straightforward, but you know, there are different scenarios in which you would like to insert something more complicated, or you know, less complicated, but not very easy to type. For example, you can wrap it into an if statement. Oh. Can't expand postfix templates. Because that's in the incorrect scope. All right, but we can do something else. The thing I use pretty much all the time is, for example, using a match postfix template. That will automatically generate a pattern matching expression for you. Also pretty useful. These are, you know, the essentials of code generation. But IDE is a little bit more smart, and it allows you to inspect your code in various other ways. For example, you know, Scala has this feature called implicits that you probably know, which are very difficult to analyze without a proper type checker. It's virtually impossible, and globally analyzing implicits takes really long time. But in our case, we actually do it, and it provides, the IntelliJ IDEA provides you with various implicit conversions that you can automatically look up by using completion. How does it work? Okay, for example, I want to convert a Scala sequence into a Java, into a Java collection by passing to pass it somewhere else. The only thing I have to do, if I remember the conversion name, and it's as Java. Am I remembering it correctly? So, all right, fine. It now shows up as red, so it does not resolve. But what I can do is I can double invoke completion, and voila. It looks up all possible implicit conversions that will accept the Scala sequence and result in something by applying this member of the I specified. Okay. But in this current case, this is not the only option to convert it to Java, for example. We also have this thing that is called quick fixes that will allow you to manually do those actions. To invoke quick fixes, you probably know that you press Alt-Enter. Basically, every operation you do on your code involves pressing Alt-Enter. And in this case, it's going to just do the same thing, and it will automatically insert the import and so on. So, what other smart features do we get? I also already mentioned the implicits and how we handle them, but this does not limit us to like doing some conversions and so on. We can also analyze implicits. For example, as you can see, this is results from an implicit conversion. It's highlighted with a thin line. But what we can do, we can show you which implicits have been used while type checking. The shortcut would be Control-Shift-Q, and if you don't remember the shortcut, you just invoke the search window and search for implicits, and there you go. Show implicit conversions and show implicit parameters. In this case, I'm going to press Control-Shift-Q, and there you go. You can see which conversions have been applied. But in a different case, I think I already showed you. In here, we have an implicit parameter which specifies, this is very similar to SBT syntax, which specifies Scala version to be used, which I can also show explicitly by pressing different keystroke, Control-Shift-P in this case. It will show you the implicit parameters of the expression. In this case, it's going to be version, which I can just navigate by pressing Enter to the place that the implicit is defined. This is also very useful when the implicit conversions and parameters are not shown in your code, and you have no idea why it does not compile. All right, so this was concerning implicits. Another feature that previous guys have already mentioned is Scala meta. Has anyone used Scala meta? Just a few people. So they didn't, well, at least the last speaker did not show the Scala meta in live, but it actually is supported in IntelliJ IDEA. Presentation mode. Oh my god. All right, this does not work now. Open project. Oh, no. Checked. So, I'm going to just open the different project, which already has Scala meta defined. Yes, I want to override it and open in this window. So, I'm going to go to the main class. I do not have a main class here. Oh, it's called differently. Okay, so let's just create an annotation that's going to new class. That's going to convert our method to, this is a standard feature, converting any class to a main class. We're just going to extend static annotation, and import Scala meta. Fairly straightforward. Everything from here. We're going to use the same trick for adding the Sbt dependency. Call next and import it right here. All right, while the Sbt is still, stuck, I'm going to define the main method, the apply method. It starts with a keyword in line, def apply. As you can see, it automatically inserted the template. Okay. Oops. The thing it should return is any. I hope you attended the previous talk about how to implement meta programs. So we're going to pass a class to it. So we have to deconstruct it first. For class with the name and some stats. There we go. Wonderful. And we're going to return the same thing, but with the same name and with the method apply. Oh, with the method main, sorry. It takes arguments, array of, strings, and does not return anything. And we splice the stats right in the method. There we go. Yeah, as you can see, it now type checks. It actually allows you to, see the types of the spliced quasi-quote parts and the thing it expects from them, fairly straightforward. And we're gonna create a new class which is gonna be annotated. Class B. Yeah, I'm getting very, very creative. We're gonna type in something. Hello, F by. Oops. And we're gonna annotate the class, which will be generated. There we go. It now detects that it's a meta annotation, and if you click this, it now says that it's not compiled yet. Click here to compile. All right, fine. And voila, you can actually see live how your meta program runs, and the results are, immediate. I'm not using any magic tricks. This is not hard-coded. I don't know. I can write something else in here and expand it one more time, so you can see no magic done. Okay, I actually managed to pull it through in 5 minutes. I thought something would not compile, something would not break, but that's a good result. It's right from the first time. All right, and within a time frame.
Yeah.
So now it's time for questions. And for those people who are eager enough, I have 3 licenses. Yay, free stuff. And the best 3 questions will get these 3 sheets of paper, fancy with numbers.
Hi, I have a question about Sbt integration. So when you import the project, there is possibility to enable building by Sbt, and I'm wondering why it's not enabled by default.
It's not enabled by default because Sbt does not support this feature yet. The Sbt server is only included in Sbt 1, and we have to use some very dirty hacks to make Sbt act as a server prior to version 1.0. And this is not completely reliable.
I mean, it was kind of working fine for me in .13, and so you're saying you're waiting for .sbt 1 to be more widely used.
Yeah, the short version of an answer is that it's experimental.
Okay, so actually, I think it's time to enable it by default, because I think it works better than in IntelliJ compiling. So maybe consider.
We will.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't know.
Thank you for talk. In Maven integration for IDEA, you have automatically source generation. If Maven project has source generation phase, IDEA automatically run it and generate sources for the project. What about SBT? When SBT project has managed sources, which are source generator in project folder?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Fairly straightforward. If you use SBT shell integration, basically all building, all project management is done through SBT.
No. I mean automatically source generation. When I import project, IDEA may automatically generate sources for the project.
Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated because when you import things from SBT without using the SBT shell, the SBT support in IntelliJ IDEA calls, I think, it extracts the structure of the build by calling various tasks like dependencies, manage class path, unmanaged class path, and so on. So if you, for example, make the source generation depend on, some other task like unmanaged class path or something like that, it will call the given task and the dependency as well. Okay. So this would be a solution.
Thank you.
So what about cross projects, like in Scala.js and now in Scala Native, you can define cross projects which have like a shared folder for sources that are both for JS and JVM and Native, but IDEA cannot see them as a single project, even though they actually are. Are there any things going on in that space?
The project model of IntelliJ IDEA, the core project model, does not support shared source roots. We have a workaround for that. I don't want to lie to you in terms of how it's actually implemented, but we have a workaround that allows you to use shared sources, at least in the latest versions. I think it's been since last year. What's the last version you checked and it didn't work?
Well, I haven't checked because I haven't known that there was a workaround, so I have the latest version, but I haven't checked it.
It's supposed to work now. If it doesn't, then please report back.
Okay, thanks.
One more.
Hi, can you go back to the shapeless example you copy-pasted?
All right.
On one of the...
Is that it?
Yeah, somewhere here on line like 48, there is a red squiggly line, which is basically a bogus type error. Surprise.
Yeah, there's another macro appender. Oh, no.
Yeah, and it happens quite often with IntelliJ IDEA in particular because it uses its own type checker basically. And the problem is I encounter this on a regular basis when experimenting with advanced libraries. And I would like to know if there is a workaround basically to tell it to not check a bit parts of my code where I know the IDEA.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. You can, wait. Okay. The most, I think, basic workaround is to disable the type-aware highlighting. Do you know how to do that?
Yeah, but it disables this whole project.
It's for a whole project. You can do. We have a magic comment that allows you to locally disable type checking. Damn, I forgot the combination. Well, okay, if you come to me later, I will dig into the sources and show you the exact comment structure that will allow you to.
Okay, thank you.
But we definitely can do that. We can disable this locally, just for a line or a scope in the file. That could be done.
Anyone else?
Maybe you know, maybe is there any way to use inspections from IDEA from outside of IDEA? Like
we have
from
headless
compliant
mode.
tools?
We have headless mode, which will you can feed an XML or something like that into options, and you can specify the inspections that you want to run. This is actually the way it runs on TeamCity. There are build configurations that allow you to like use IntelliJ IDEA to run inspections on your code in the continuous integration. So this is not exactly well documented, I would say, but you can definitely do that. Just search for running IntelliJ in headless mode.
Okay, last chance to participate, guys.
What window manager is that?
Awesome. That's not an adjective, that's a name. Is that an adjective?
Written in Haskell.
No, it's written in Lua. Xmonad is the Haskell one.
Okay, then maybe pick 3 winners.
Oh, picking winners. If only I can remember who asked the questions.
Please, everyone who asked the question to either raise your hand or just stand up. Lazy.
Will they not be cheating? No, I do remember.
No, I remember faces.
Okay. You don't need it. Okay. You warned me. So then, okay, the first 3, excluding you. Do I have to come up and? Okay. Okay.
Raise your hands.
Oh, sorry.
Who was the third one? Who was the
First
third guy?
3.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.